All right. Looks like I just got live. So I'm going to give it a couple minutes here before I get started. So, boy, do we have a lot to talk about. Um, yeah. Yeah. So I'll get into it, but there's been a lot going on in my personal life that I haven't been uploading as much recently, which we might get to. But in the meantime, I'm just going to let this roll for a couple minutes. I see the people already in here, so I'm going to let more people show up, but we'll give it probably about 3 to 4 minutes, and then we'll get going. But for those of you who are already here, because I can see you guys, if anyone wants to let me know that the audio is going well, and let me see if I can fix that. Trying to work on the microphone. Let me see. Can you guys hear me? Okay, I can see that moving. Sorry, guys, trying to work through some technical stuff. But if you guys can hear me and everything is coming in well, just let me know. I'd love to hear that from you because, as always, we're having technical stuff going on here. All right, Bandit with a thumbs up. We are 5 by 5 by Victor, so makes me feel confident that you guys can hear me. I'll have to adjust some stuff here. I'm a gunsmith. I am not a technology smith. Let's put it that way. So just need to know if we're doing all right. Still going to give it about another minute or two because the notification just went up that I'm live, and I want to give at least 1 or 2 minutes for other dudes that are at work or whatever they got going on. And for all you guys I can see here now, thanks for being here. We're going to get started probably about a minute or two. So should have brought my glasses up here. Hey, Alaska. You stationed up there or living up there? I got some buddies up there. And never been up there yet, but I want to go up there. Alaska. It's the last frontier. And my God, the conversations we're about to have, we need to at least pack a lip in, get the whiskey ready. Holy hell. So there we go. Living 25 years, Victor, out in Alaska or just in general, but either way, that's a lot of winters and a lot of change. Get into almost 3 decades, so that's pretty cool. So for those who are going to see this later, for those of you who are here now, and everyone else, this is going to serve as kind of a Q&A, a live Q&A. This is happening right now for those of you that are here, but also you guys can, there's going to be some guys playing this back. But we've got some things to talk about, and you guys can ask any questions about anything at any time, and that's going to work out. It's going to be just fun. But kind of the theme here that we're going to talk about is the recent drama with pistol braces from the ATF. That's kind of the theme here. But if you guys throw out a question that doesn't relate to that or anything, that's totally fine. I'll take it. So let's see. Reason why we moved up here, my wife was from here, and a lot of freedom still. Yeah, Alaska is, well, like I said, it's kind of the last frontier, at least in the United States. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, you could just totally go off the grid and just be a mountain man up there, as I understand it, if you wanted to. That was from Victor. Now we got Chris. A lot of freedoms in East Kentucky. Yeah, I spent a little time in Kentucky, rolling through Lexington, and I was back in college a long time ago. But I was on the trap and skeet team in college, and we went against the UK guys and Virginia Tech and all those guys, and it looked like a pretty nice place to live. I have this weird thing where exactly everyone I've ever met from Kentucky, they know how to ride a horse, and they can tell you the different kinds and types and things, or at least they know about working on a field and having a house with some land and stuff. So never seems to fail. If I hear that someone was born and raised in Kentucky, always seems to be the case. So kind of a side note, not part of this. But yeah, I think I'll give it one more minute, and then we're going to delve into this, not make it too boring for those who are going to come afterwards. And Chris also says everyone owns a gun. Yeah, I noticed that. So I've lived in Virginia, Georgia, Louisiana, Texas, the different states that I've lived in, particularly in the South or the deep South. Having a firearm, and I think, and it's kind of a catch-22 because I was mainly raised in Los Angeles, like Southern California, right outside of LA. And, people don't, at least from urban centers and cities and places like that, people don't really understand when I try to tell them, like, hey, there's fellow Americans living in other states under different conditions that, just the gun is kind of the way of life. And if they can't catch, I mean, even if it has to be a squirrel, or if it's going to be a deer during the season, if it's going to be whatever, like if they can't harvest it with the firearm that they have, there's no dinner that night. Like that's kind of how they live, or they live in a remote county or parish where, they can call 911 if they have reception, but the sheriffs aren't going to be out there for, fire, medical, police. Like no one's going to be out there for at least half an hour. And especially if it floods or it rains really hard or whatever, like you're on your own, dude, and you got to make this happen. So it's kind of hard communicating that or trying to relay that to people who grew up in cities and things like that. But if, it's everyone's working hard, and sometimes you can't just drive 10 minutes down the street to the grocery store. Sometimes you got to make it happen on your own, whether it's for putting food on the table and feeding everyone, or if it's, defense or whatever it is. That's kind of how it is. There's a lot of Americans who live like that. And I'm not saying that's a bad way to live. I'm just saying like there's kind of the other half of Americans who don't live that way, and they don't even understand. There's no way they can understand that. So everyone in Kentucky owning a gun, basically everyone has a gun. I believe it totally. Let's see. We're looking at Sacramento, California. Yeah, I spent some time up there. Stockton, Lodi, Bay Area, Sacramento up there. Yeah, I've spent time there too. You might be surprised the places I've lived. Yeah, it's kind of a different thing. And I was always, even as a kid, I was always perplexed at like the difference of San Fran, and then you cross the bridge, you go into Oakland. It's like, dude, everything just changed. Like this is not the same as when we started on this thing. Like, so people don't also understand that as well. For those of you guys, I just saw a bunch of you guys just joined. So for everyone who just showed up, this is going to be a Q&A, but we are going to be talking about the ATF with the recent drama on pistol braced ARs and other firearms or pistols with braces. And we're definitely going to get into that. But you guys can ask questions about anything. Doesn't matter. And I'll just answer honestly. Let's see. I should have brought my glasses. Let's see. Okay. IB2 Delta Echo says, couldn't imagine California gun laws. I live in Missouri, and it's hard to find someone who don't have at least 3. Yeah, California gun laws, for those who've never lived in California or Illinois, New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, any of those states that pretty restrictive, I'll tell you that it's very archaic. Especially if they get the majorities, they get all the voting that they want. The pro-gun, freedom-loving people are just tidal waved by the urban population centers, and they get everything they want every year. It's madness. And I wasn't a gunsmith yet, but being an instructor and running a gun shop and a gun range back in the day in California, I mean, for those who've never lived in California or never traveled there or don't know the dynamic of the situation there, you might be surprised how many people own guns in California, and they are not California legal, and they don't care. You would be surprised what people have in their gun safes or their homes in California. They just kind of get overshadowed by the cities, San Diego, LA, Sacramento Bay Area, but there's quite a lot of gun owners in California, especially like Orange County, Kern County, like places that are a little bit more remote that still do farming and kind of stretched out. Like you might be a little bit more surprised than you thought you would be. So yeah, it's crazy working with archaic gun laws that are just absolutely just asinine in a state where so many people own a lot of things that they're either legal or they're not, and a lot of those people don't even care. Let's see. Yeah, California compliant ARs are hilarious. It's kind of a weird take. I've said this before, but I'll reiterate it now real quick. If you're living in a state like California and you want to have an AR-15, a gun design that is over half a century old at this point, there's some AR-15s that are CNR eligible, like Curio and Relics, because they're so old. If you want to own a gun that originates from the 50s, an AR-15 that is, very commonly used in the United States for self-defense, recreation, hunting, law enforcement, our military. I mean, we had AR-15s as well. Like, I mean, if you want to own like the most common rifle in America and you're living in a banned state like California or something like that, really, for those who've never lived in that kind of dynamic, you have 2 options. One, which is the option they want you to do, is to register it with the state, not federal, just the state, as a assault weapon. And to get into the registry, they got your name, birth date, social security number, address, your height and weight. They got everything. And they want that. So option one, you join into the registry, you have all that stuff on file. And then, 5 to 10 years later, when they decide you shouldn't have that, they know exactly where to go to pick it up. And there's not much you can do about it individually. Option two is you can do like the Monster Man fin grip thing and the crazy stock and the, non-threaded barrel and this weird, crazy stuff. And your AR-15 ergonomically took a hit. Aesthetically, it looks like dog shit. And people who haven't lived under that, they don't understand. But option two is you want me to join the registry. You want me to do all this so you can come collect them later or place charges on me for possessing it, which I bought legally with an invoice and background check and federal paperwork and everything is fine. Fast forward 5 or 10 years later, it's not fine, and you have a place to collect it. Option two is non-compliance. So it's a weird way to look at it, but maybe some of you guys have lived or still are living in restrictive states where option one is you just, toe the line, register it as an assault weapon, and whenever they decide you shouldn't have it anymore, they know exactly where they go to get it. Or option two is make your AR-15 look like a complete dumpster fire, but you don't have to enter the registry, and you can still rock on and do your thing. So I look at a California compliant AR-15 or, a New York Safe Act compliant AR-15. Really, I'm looking at those guns as an act of non-compliance. That's really what it is. So yeah, these kinds of ARs may look hilarious to you or other people, but really there's kind of a long game. Dare I say 4D chess here, but there's kind of a long game involved with that. So they may look hilarious and crazy, but at the end of the day, there's a reason for that. Either you toe the line, fall into their trap, and do what they want you to do, or you go off road and you do the crazy Monster Man grip and all this other crazy stuff. And it's a California compliant AR-15 is really an act of non-compliance. And those of you who are watching, because I can see a bunch of you guys just joined from, maybe some of you guys are watching from Europe or, banned states in the United States or whatever. You guys understand. But for those who grew up in a free state where you can have ARs and, NFA items and, transferable machine guns or SOTs, whatever, it's not a problem. You have to understand there's kind of a chess game you got to play. So moving into the comments, let's see. Oh, I'm a little bit backlogged. Let me get up to speed. Well, the automatic transmission fluid essentials don't care about anything other than control and power. Okay, let's see. Chris also reacted similar to what how I feel. Automatic transmission or emission fluid. Yeah, thanks, Chris. A little play on words. Okay. Must have flew over my head. So let's see. Victor says, yeah, I still have family in California and they are pretty well stocked up. Oh, I'm sure. I'm not going to say that I do this, but I still have, military friends and people I care about in California that I'll send, care packages to every now and then. And we'll just leave it at that. But there's, for people who have not lived in California or a banned state, you must understand that there are still a lot of Americans there that have stuff that is never going to see the light of day. Just they have it, and they don't care. So let's see. I heard there is a lady senator putting a bill in to defund the ATF. Is that correct? There's always calls every now and then, usually from um, not even like the rightist side of progressives, but mainly and chiefly from libertarian politicians or candidates that they want to completely defund or abolish the ATF and the IRS and a bunch of other stuff too. Probably would solve a lot of our problems, but realistic like citation management, I don't see that happening as easily. But there's always going to be some, maverick politician out of some district or some senator from some state that got elected, and they want to abolish the ATF or abolish this or that or defund whatever. I can't say I completely disagree, but realistically looking at it, it's a very tough road. Let's put it that way. Let's see. Registration seems like an infringement on the Second Amendment. Yeah. So the whole registration thing, and being from California, I still maintain really good friendships with people who don't own a gun. They're against guns. They're very different than me. And honestly, I think that's kind of the medicine that we need to heal ourselves, is to be friends with, value the person and the memories you have with that person, and maintain and foster those friendships over, polarization and just like, oh, they're on the bad team and I'm on the good team, whatever. But it really helps me understand kind of their headspace. It really helps me understand kind of where they're coming from. So how I can better understand, I'd like to say how they argue, but really how they feel, and what is inevitably going to show up in the national conversation every time a shooting or something happens. But by and large, most of them will bring up, oh, well, we register and, we register our vehicle with the government. We get a license. We have insurance on this vehicle and personal liability insurance and things like that. And it's like, well, yeah, that's a privilege. Like, if I want to drive, I will go seek out a driver's license and, play that game, take all the tests, do what I need to do to get a driver's license. If I wish to own a vehicle, well, then I'll play the game, and, I will take the steps needed to do the title transfer, put insurance on the vehicle, get some personal liability insurance for me. And, if I choose to do that, then that's what I'll do. All of this leading to the fact that, having a driver's license, driving a motor vehicle on public highways and streets, and owning a vehicle, these are all, this is not a guaranteed, inalienable natural right of man. Like, this is not in the Bill of Rights. And maybe, I don't profess to know the Constitution in and out, but I kind of know it a little bit. And if you guys can point me to, the part of the Constitution, where article or Bill of Rights or amendment that gives me the natural inalienable right to drive a motor vehicle, I'd love to see it, because I haven't seen it. And all the times I've read the Constitution, I haven't seen it. Versus owning guns, that's like voting. That's like practicing whatever religion you want or not. That's a right. It was not given to us by government. They can't take it away without due process. And that's moving into Article 1, and also the Fifth, Sixth, and Seventh Amendments. Like, it's not something they gave us. It's something we have just for existing. And owning firearms to keep and bear arms, our founders kind of thought that was important. In fact, they put that at second at the list of individual, natural, inalienable rights of man. Amended our Constitution to do that. So, long story short, if we're talking about cars versus guns, one thing is an optional extracurricular privilege, and one is a right. Doesn't really play the same way. So let's see. It seems a little backwards. Terran Tactical and Zev operate out of the West, yet they sell high-capacity extensions. What's the point of the laws? So I've been to the Terran's range in Simi Valley, and I was involved in a couple film shoots from NCIS and Bones and some other television programs. We did Top Shot as well. We also had, back in the old days of Arlie Ermy, doing mail call. We had a couple events there. My very severely limited interface with the movie industry or Hollywood, and having transferable registered Title III firearms like machine guns in Southern California, you can totally do it. But you pretty much need to be in the movie business or law enforcement. That's it. That's it. I mean, for God's sake, like a threaded pistol barrel in the state of California is a felony possession. So that's 5 years for ownership, 5 years for possession. That's 10 years in prison for having a threaded pistol barrel. But if you're in the movie industry, or law enforcement departments trying to pick up like Colt Commandos or whatever, that's a different story. So in Southern California, there are, or at least California at large, there are permits, applications, greasing some palms. There actually are statute capabilities for having machine guns and suppressors and short-barreled rifles and whatever, if it's for Hollywood movie production or if it's for, what's up? Hey, could you make me a favor?
What flavor do you need, darling?
Miss Texas just joined in real quick, guys. Sorry. Or you're welcome. Would you mind grabbing me my glasses? I think they're downstairs somewhere.
Okay.
Is that okay?
That's fine.
Would you like to say hi?
No.
Okay.
Well, I'll say hi from here, but I'm not camera.
That's okay.
On camera.
All right, everybody. Miss Texas says hi. She's making me a favor. She's going to get my glasses and she's going to start dinner. So she says hi from there, and that's it. Anyway, back to the point. Yeah, I've been involved with suppressors, full autos, machine guns, prop guns, weird stuff from kind of the movie industry side there. And it's either Hollywood movie stuff being like a Hollywood movie arsenal, or it's law enforcement. And that's, thank you. All right, there you go. Miss Texas says hi to all you guys. All right. Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's a ton. Oh. Ah.
That's what you get.
Jesus.
Okay.
Okay.
Just because my hair is all over.
No. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I'll let you know.
Okay.
Okay. Now that I have my glasses, I can see this a lot better. So here we go. So anyway, yeah. Getting back to Terran Tactical, at least John Wick 1, which was pretty fucking rad. NCIS, Bones, Top Shot, Mail Call, the stuff. I mean, it was a good time, but you can't do that stuff unless it's Hollywood or law enforcement. There you go. So and also there are, I don't want to say carve outs, but there is statute within the California laws to allow, like if you are Ronin Tactics or Larry Vickers or like some cool guy, world famous firearms trainer and stuff, and you're coming to, let's say, train Sacramento SWAT team tactics and weapons and stuff, like you got to do it ahead of time with California DOJ, but there are things you can do to bring in suppressors, full autos, high capacity magazines, which to California is anything over 10 rounds. But it's challenging. Let's just say that. Let's say, I would say that having to travel long distance on foot would be cruel and unusual punishment. Yeah. Yeah, he's actually he's pretty proud of the guns he owns. Taryn is an interesting guy. I've only met with him twice. I don't, that, and those times were not very lengthy, but it's like if he's got a pretty successful gig where he's got all kinds of stuff and teaches actors how to do gun things in movies, and that's cool. But yeah, I'm not saying that I'm perfect here, but yeah, he's a heavy dude. So if anyone here is a prepper or survivalist, get your cardio up. Stop smoking. Do you worry about your fitness? Because you could be the coolest Jerry Micklick, like coolest gun guy in the world, but if you can't fucking move miles, you're worthless. You're gonna die. That's it. Anyway, we got from Old School Tempest here. I'm not sure if this has been mentioned, but Texas is constitutional carry now. Yeah, so my state just went constitutional carry last month. Texas did as well. And that's kind of an important thing because I still recommend to citizens of my state or anyone else, maybe you're living in a state that already had or is about to or just became constitutional carry. I still recommend to go get the permit because if you do at least the state mandated stuff, you get the permit, there's some benefits. First of all, you have a better understanding of the law, where you can and can't carry, what is and is not expected of you. You have a cool guy plastic card in your wallet that, maybe I want to go on a road trip a state or two away from mine. That state's going to honor my stuff, and maybe my state is constitutional carry and theirs is not. But I have this cool piece of plastic in my wallet, and it means that I can carry in their state, and there's no drama, and it's fine. I would always urge for education and training. So if, money is super tight and, the $25, at least that we charge for concealed carry, and then, the $20 to get the permit from the state, if that's, there's a lot of people right now still living on the grind, man. If that's financially not possible for the next several months, I understand, but I would make it an eventual goal, or if money is not that big of an issue, I would still get your state concealed carry permit. Kind of sets things off. I like to drive fast, and things happen. I've been pulled over a number of times, and at least in my state, my concealed carry permit is linked to my driver's license and vehicle registration. So the second they pull me over, they already know. Some states, you have no legal obligation to tell the law enforcement officer or peace officer that you have firearms in the vehicle or on your person, but I always do because I'm not trying to get shot. And, that's kind of a whole subset. Some of you guys be like, oh, no, dude, constitutional carry, you don't need to tell them anything. And in some states, you don't need to. You don't need a permit. You don't need to tell cops that you have guns in the vehicle or on your person. You don't need a permit for that. It's all good. But I just do it because I also work with a lot of cops, at least out here. Every state I've lived in, the attitude and kind of culture of law enforcement has been very up and down. Let's just say that. And in my state where I live now, a lot of them are gun guys. They just want to hang out. and do their job and just see what's up. And they're not, it's not like I'm a nail and all of us are nails and they're a hammer. But also, when I lived in Los Angeles, I wouldn't tell them anything. No. So I understand that side of the coin as well. So your mileage may vary. Let's just leave it at that. Let's see. Kansas and Missouri are also constitutional carry and open carry in just about every county. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of open carry. Now, let's not get it twisted. This is YouTube and this is going to get crazy. So let me just preface this with open carry, in my opinion, should always be legal. Should never be outlawed. If you want to open carry a rifle or a sidearm, a pistol, whatever, a shotgun, and it should always be legal. But there's a time and place kind of thing. Where do I want to go into McDonald's to order a hamburger and I've got at the low ready, an AK or an AR just like, slung in front of me? Is that something I want to do? Should it be legal? My eternal answer always is yes, that should be legal and everyone else should just deal with it. But me as a private individual, is that something I would personally choose to do? Because I have open carried rifles. I've open carried pistols, depending on the state and the circumstances and kind of what was going on. Is that something I would personally choose to do? Right place, right time. One thing is open carry should always be legal. Should never, in my opinion, should never be illegal. Should always be legal. It's just that's it. And if people are sad about it or offended or they don't understand, they can shove it. I don't care. But is that something I want to do personally? I've done it. Is that something I do? No. And really what the real answer is on the reason why is because if I'm hanging out in the 7-Eleven, open carrying a pistol, let's say, and someone, has a ghetto blaster or whatever, and they're about to rob that joint, that may not dissuade them from wanting to show up and do stuff. And basically, I just gave them the cheat codes on who do I have to kill first? Like who do I have to smoke down first? Acquire their weapons. Now I got another gun. That's cool. And I'm going to continue doing whatever it is I planned on doing. So I will never have been, never will be, and I am not against open carry being legal. That's what I want to make straight. I've open carried rifles. I've open carried pistols. And, I never want that to be illegal. But from a tactical preservation of life, does this make sense perspective? It's not something I do. But concealed carry, that's the way to go. Just mind your business. That's on both ends. That's the only thing I have to say about that. Let's see. For a threaded barrel, yes. Sorry, backlogging. For those just joining, I see some guys just jumped in. Yes, in the state of California, a possession of a pistol barrel that is threaded at least can even just, you don't even have to have the suppressor, which is already a felony. Just having the pistol barrel that is threaded to accept a suppressor is a felony possession in the state of California, at least to my knowledge. I don't think that's changed. Probably got worse. Thanks, Victor, saying hi to Miss Texas. I'll let her know. Let's see. Hey, Victor, watch the tube channel guns and gadgets for the ATF bill info. Yeah, we're actually about to get to that. I need to get on target with that. I'm just trying to catch up on your guys' comments here. I'll say I couldn't live. Oh, that's rad, dude. Miss Texas is making dinner downstairs and she's playing Black Sabbath, and it's awesome. Anyway, actually, I probably shouldn't monetize this video. Can you guys hear the music in the background? Because if you can, I should not monetize this. But I don't blame her at all. Ozzy's pretty rad. Let's see. I'll say I couldn't live in a state where the police fear every person with a gun. If you're going to be in law enforcement, you can't be constantly afraid of your life. Yeah, that's tough. I have no experience in law enforcement. I was a combat infantryman, dismounted reconnaissance scout, the LRPS company, the modern version of the Long Range Reconnaissance Patrol, or the LRPS from Vietnam, who literally wrote the book. And when I went to recon school at Fort Benning, we had one guy that was civilian now on staff, an actual LRP from Vietnam, kind of teaching us stuff that was just absolutely wild. But why did I get on that tangent? So anyway, I've done some stuff. The closest I have to law enforcement experience, which is still nothing, is my very last assignment, like literally weeks before I ETS'd, or my end of term of service. Like I got out, my contract was done, honorable discharge. That was it. The last 3 months of that were in El Paso, Texas, for the border mission, when we active duty U.S. military troops were on the border, supporting Border Patrol agents and Department of Homeland Security and all that. That's probably the closest interface I have to gaining some kind of maybe experience with law enforcement, or kind of doing that gig. And yeah, it's a really tough situation. To say that it's case by case basis is an understatement, because you see what's happening, something is going on, a lot of context has to be applied. And if this is really the lethal threat that your experience tells you, and what you're seeing and smelling, and the context of everything that's transpired and what's happening now, if this really is a lethal threat, you pull the gun and shoot that guy. If you're right, you get to live, and everything was fine. And I mean, it's not what we wanted, but you get to survive. A violent criminal that was trying to kill you is dead, which is like bonus points, like awesome. But if you're wrong, an innocent person died or got killed by you. You killed that person. And the fun thing about it is you only have fractions of a second to make these decisions. You're also in a very high stress environment. It's not the easiest thing to do. Nobody cares. If you make the right decision, nobody even knows your name. No one cares. If you make the wrong decision, you're on the national news. Specifically, who was trying to kill you or come after you, or who the victim was. And, you only have a couple milliseconds to make that decision based on what was going on, what is going on, what you see, what's happening. But prosecutors, defense attorneys, the courts, they've got months, years to pick it apart and, armchair quarterback that thing. So I don't know. That's a very tough dynamic. And that's honestly kind of a whole side note, or at least a topic for another video. Let's see. I support holster weapons. Okay. The Alaska State Troopers know 95% of us carry. I would imagine so. I mean, dude, if I was living in Alaska, I mean, already right now, there's no instance you will not find me without a firearm. As like, put that on the list of things that's not going to happen. There's no universe that exists in which I don't seem to care about life enough to protect it. But especially if I lived in Alaska, like, dude, yeah, I'm not even necessarily, I mean, depending on what part of Alaska, but I'm not even necessarily worried about someone breaking into my car or, trying to strong point my house or something. Like, there's a lot of four-legged threats out there. Let's see. In Alaska, 10 millimeter should be required for everyone. If they were smart, they would do that. Glock 20 with some buffalo bore, just even a Mossberg, like a Maverick 88 with slugs for bears and stuff. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense to me, but that's the beauty of America. We all get to choose our own adventure, make our own choices for our own selves. Let's see. My permit expired in 2010. Don't need one in Kentucky, but thought about the renewal. I do drive to Michigan often. Yeah, and in that case, so if you're a Kentucky resident, your permit, you don't have a concealed carry permit. You're just a Joe on the street at this point, but you drive to Michigan a lot. I don't know what Michigan does. I would imagine they probably don't honor Kentucky's permit. I'd have to look that up, but I would still encourage, people to stay current, get the training. And even if you go to a concealed carry class and it's taught by like a retired sheriff or something like that, or an instructor who knows what he's talking about. And even if you decide you're like, yeah, I'm not going to file the paperwork, I'm not going to do it. You just got a very recent snapshot in time of the statute, the laws, the limitations, everything else. And even if you only got to spend 4 to 5 hours doing the class, I would still consider that a value add onto your life. So, again, like I just said, everybody gets to choose their own adventure here in America as Americans. But, I would encourage it at least to I don't think it's a negative to be, more informed, to better understand the laws and to better understand the current situation. Because, if your permit expired, your concealed carry permit expired in 2010, you probably took that class a couple years prior to that. And God knows, how the laws have changed since then. So at least, that's a value add, at least to understand the dynamic in which we live, or the laws of your state and everything else. Plus, I mean, I don't push it hard, but like being an infantryman, a reconnaissance scout, Afghan, Iraq, combat veteran, all this stuff. Like I actually, my favorite hobby for years has been, taking pistol or rifle courses from either former SF guys or civilians. Like, our head instructor at my work, he was an IRS agent for most of his career, never got involved in a lethal shoot, never went to combat. And I've actually learned a lot from that dude, at least things to think about. So, I don't think education or exposure to new things or from a different perspective, I don't think that's a bad thing. And you can, again, you can choose to accept it, internalize it, think about it, care about it, or you can just be like, you know what? Yeah, that was a waste of time for the last 3 hours. And I don't think that instructor, whatever. Or you might hear or learn some things interfacing with some guys like that might actually resonate and be valuable to you. So, always a longtime fan of education, training, exposure, different viewpoints, just knowing the law. And ultimately, as law-abiding citizens, we should know what the laws are. We should care about them. If we don't like them, we should act to change them and vote for the people that will. So, at least in my mind, a citizenship like bare minimum standard, we should at least know, whether we agree with them or not, at least what the laws are and what is expected of us, what is not expected of us, and what the extenuating circumstances and rights and things and limitations on both sides of that spectrum. I would never say it's a bad thing. So, Chris, you might want to just sign up for a concealed carry class, and you don't have to get a permit. I don't think Michigan's going to honor it, but at least you might get some more information, different interface, different point of communication there. And I think it's probably going to be worth your money and time. And ultimately, you get to choose if you want to use it or not. So, I mean, that's kind of a no-fail situation. Let's see. It's good to see you back. Mr. 2A, I was getting ready to comment on one of your videos. Yeah, so real quick update on what has been going on. So Miss Texas and I were involved in a accident on the interstate. And we, in order to avoid a collision, she was driving and she overcorrected, turned, and it was my truck versus the barrier. Both airbags deployed. The tires just burned down on the pavement. Vehicle was almost on fire. It was actually pretty fucking rad after the fact. And we had that going on. I just bought a Chrysler 1987 Fifth Avenue. That thing is as old as I am. And in the meantime, get me around. And I actually have a video on that. I'm going to create a B channel and make that the first upload where you guys get to see this thing. It's a 2-barrel Holley carburetor with a 5.2 V8 engine. And it's, to say it's a project car is, yeah, that's kind of an understatement, but you guys will see it. I'm going to post, I've already created it, but I'm going to post that as the first video on the B channel. I'll let you guys know so you guys can hop over and see it. But yeah, I'm creating a B channel on YouTube so you guys can still access me in case this channel gets nuked. But I'm going to start out with that. There's been a lot of other stuff going on. But between Miss Texas's family coming out, us just wrecking the Chevy and everything else, it's been pretty busy. So I apologize. There haven't been any recent uploads. But given the pistol brace ATF drama that's going on right now, I figured I needed to upload this and talk with you guys, answer your questions. And bottom line up front, we're all going to have to do something, whether it's putting in a public comment, whatever it is, writing your elected representatives. Even if you live in New York and your representative is AOC or whatever, or you live in California and you have the senators and representatives you have, writing letters. In my travels over the years, phone calls are worth about 100 letters. So you can do the letter thing, but call. And this is one of those tough ones where we all are going to have to do something. You can't just sit on the sidelines. Oh, I live in, whatever free state and we have constitutional carry and, we don't really care and I don't have to do anything. This is a situation where we're all going to have to do something. We're going to get to. Let me keep up. Let's see. Let's see. How are things going at Ready Gunner? So I'm the gunsmith / armor at Ready Gunner in Orem, Utah. We have all kinds of machine guns, customer builds, customer repair jobs, warranty repair jobs. We got all kinds of stuff going on, and it's a mess. Things are going okay at Ready Gunner. Coming up on Saturday, we have, at least out in Utah, we have Shootah 2021. So we're going to be running some machine guns. The 6-hour MPX, the 9mm carbine that we turned into a full auto on a Form 2. That thing just shit the bed this morning, which was awesome because that was one of the guns we were going to take out. But I also repaired our MP5 full auto, so that is working. So yeah, interesting conversation with the owner of Ready Gunner. I talked to Neil this morning. I was like, hey man, so good news, bad news. The 6-hour MPX, which I jerry rigged and just scienced the shit out of that to make it work on full auto and semi. Yeah, that broke this morning, but I did get the MP5 running. So that's cool. Also, as of late, I've downloaded a lot of German manuals for our full auto MG42. That thing is like 1,600 rounds per minute. It is all gas, no brakes. Direct blowback, open bolts, roller delayed system. It's, like dudes, I carried a Mark 48 M240 Bravo, dismounted machine gunner in Afghanistan, 50 cal gunner in Iraq. I mean, I have some time around machine guns, but if you guys ever get the opportunity to check out an MG42, I will tell you that it is very unforgiving. And if you were going to carry that thing in combat, you had to be just a physical beast of a man, as always with machine gunners. You had to really mechanically understand the system, and there was no half measures. There was no safety cuts, in the bolt carrier or anything. There was nothing trying to save you. You had to be shit hot on that gun. So, that is still kind of a work in progress. I've already had we broke a couple of booster cones. I had to order a couple of those. Finally got the roller bolt working, and the barrels that we have, trying to work on those as well. So there's always something going on, man. There's always something happening at work. Let's put it that way. Let's see, millions of new gun owners. Yeah, there's the one thing I'll say to you guys that I've also said to my anti-gun friends is don't make any assumptions that maybe if you're a really anti-gun lefty from the West or East Coast, you might think of someone who owns a gun as like a redneck dude with a mullet, driving General Lee down the roads and, hunting for deer and fishing to put food on the table. And that's a gun owner to them. That's based on the past year and a half. That's not the case. I've had doctors, lawyers, teachers, black, white, Hispanic, especially Asian. I've like every ethnicity, race, age group, profession, whether they're blue collar or white collar, high or low income. I work with millionaires. I work with, Joe Bob down the street who works at Jiffy Lube. Literally everyone in American society has come in through our doors the last year and a half. So if you're an anti-gun person, you kind of stereotype gun owners and you think, oh, that guy probably has a gun or two. Guess again, motherfucker, like there's we the people have really shown up in the last year and a half. So let's see. Hands, watch them, know them, give yourself effective combat distance. If you can get good cover, you concealment for your buddies. I mean, that's ideal. And I'm not like some Marcus Luttrell, Larry Vickers kind of dude that's been in a million gunfights and crazy shit. I'm just the shit shows I've been involved in, dealing with weapon systems, machine guns, small arms. That is ideally what you want to do, but things just get out of control real fast without you even knowing, and you're trying your best. But that's good advice. That's like textbook advice. It helps, but that could probably be a whole other side video. And now I'm thinking about this kid in Afghanistan. So I think I'm going to pour on the whiskey and sidestep that and keep moving. Always be aware of your surroundings. Yes, absolutely. Yes. That is something I'm, transitioning from military life into civilian life over the past year and a half or so. I mean, I have noticed civilians are fucking retarded. Not to say that I have everything figured out, but you'll see a woman running at night with both earphones in, pitch black dark, and she's just trucking, trying to get her mile time up. And I'm just like, that you should be able to do that safely without hazard or problems, but you're not making choices that are effective to minimizing your victimization rate. Like, you're not doing smart things right now. Or I'll see civilians who don't realize someone is behind them. They don't they open the door from themselves, they walk out, they don't even know. They're not trying to be rude. They don't even realize someone else is about to walk through the door, try to help keep the door open or something. I'm like, man, they don't. But you know what? I can't blame them. It's like, dude, you don't. I'm glad you don't know, but you don't know. Like, there's certain things you. Not to turn this into like a PTSD pity party here, but like, there are certain things you're never going to be able to turn off. And I'm glad they don't have that. I just kind of wish they did without the other stuff that comes with. So, leaving that, I'd never turn down any tactical advice. Being too prideful is a good way to get killed. That 100% agreement with. How are you feeling about the Second Amendment currently? From Tempest. You know what? I'll say the same thing I've told you guys in the past, but I actually am more concerned about the First Amendment. I mean, I'm concerned about both, all of our Bill of Rights, but I'm actually more concerned about the First Amendment right now. I'm always, I mean, that's the whole purpose of this channel. It's been that way for over a decade now. Always concerned and watching and vigilant about the Second Amendment, but I'm actually more worried about freedom of expression, or freedom of speech that turned into freedom of expression from the courts. But I'm actually more worried about First Amendment stuff right now. But the Second Amendment, I mean, the reality is, legally, I don't want to see restrictions. I want to see openings. I want to see gun rights more proliferated. I want to see. I've always had speech problems, so there's certain words I've never been able to pronounce well. I always want to see Second Amendment stuff happen, and one thing that has kind of hit my lefty friends really home is like, they want to see IQ tests or psych evals, or they want to see different permits or licenses just to buy ammo or buy a gun or buy this and that. And one thing that kind of I don't want to say it stops them in their tracks, but it makes them think about it is, what about minorities? What about people below the poverty line? What about people in the inner cities that live that kind of life, and have to live where they live? And, you have a single mother raising 3 kids, and she's hustling. She's got like 3 jobs. She's either sleeping, going to work, or working. That's it. And now you want to make her pay for a $30 ammo license or something just to buy a box of ammo for the gun that she wants to protect the household with. Now you want her to do some state mandated, psych eval or IQ test, that she's going to have to take off work for, that she can't afford. She's going to have to drive, a couple hours to get to the nearest, state certified psychologist or whatever it is, and then pay this money just to be found that she's fine. And meanwhile, she's missed all of this work. Maybe she drives a car that is not very reliable. Maybe she doesn't even own a car. She takes public transit, and how is she going to get 2 hours from here? It's like, you guys have all these nice, good-natured ideas, but when the rubber meets the road, when you actually do this for real, you're only hurting the people that can't afford it. And again, we're not talking about a privilege. We're talking about a right. Should we put this kind of burden on someone that just wants to go to church or just wants to express themselves, just wants to open up a Facebook account or something like that? Like, we have to treat one and the same. And that gets them thinking. And something, my bachelor's degree is in history, which is not very marketable. But if we're talking about IQ tests, to exercise a right, that makes me think of Jim Crow. Like, we need a literacy test to register to access your right to vote, and you got to do that. And you're the wrong kind of person trying to vote, and you go up to the county courthouse to do it, take off work and pay the money, and then take a literacy test. Like, it just gives me, it's disgusting. So, if you have any progressive, lefty, anti-gun people that are proposing these things, as much as they don't know about it or don't want to do it, take them down memory lane. Be like, Jim Crow and pre-civil rights movement was actually pretty bad. And, I care about minorities. I care about people in poverty. I care about inner cities and people that are not as advantaged as me. And this is a right. This is not a privilege. I want them, whether you're Bill Gates or you're people like you and me or worse. Like, I want everyone, as long as you got a clean background and, everything's good to go. Like, I want you to access your American civil liberties, and any expensive or time consuming barriers that we want to try to put in the way. Like, I just see that hurting people of color, people, of lower income status, and phrasing it that way and really being straight to the point about it, that really makes, if you have any lefty, progressive, anti-gun friends, it really kind of makes them internalize it in a way that they understand. What's up?
I have cooked stuffed salmon.
Okay.
With sauteed broccoli, and I'm making mashed potatoes right now.
Yes, very good. The guys say hi.
Hello?
They say hi, Miss Texas. So,
Hello.
well, hello.
Hello. It's so good.
I told him about the car accident.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, probably about 20, 30 minutes, I'll be done. I remember that song. Can you guys hear that in the background? Because I know she was listening to Ozzy earlier, but if you guys can hear that, I can't monetize this, so let me know.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
This just reminds me of my college days in Lake Charles for clubs, but we won't get into that
Jesus. Let's just move on. Okay. Okay, I'll be down a little bit. All right, guys, about 20 to 30 minutes before I got to go. I do want to talk about the pistol brace situation. Let me catch up real quick. Patriot says, glad you're okay. Yeah, we're okay. From the car accident, we're okay. Yeah, that was one of those things where it was like, in the moment, it was wild and intense, but in retrospect, that was pretty fucking rad. And the fact that we walked away from it, I had a 2004 Chevy Tahoe. I mean, that thing is heavy. It's big. It's got airbags. It's got steel. It's just, I see people driving down the highway with these little tiny aluminum cars and things. I'm like, dude, that's already the size of a coffin. Like, if you get shoved off the road or you spin out, like, it's already the size of a coffin. It'll just bury you in that thing, dude. Like, it's no, something to be said about bigger vehicles. I know it's not politically correct for fuel efficiency and carbon emissions, whatever. But man, if it's big, steel, and heavy, and it's got modern safety features in it, can't really go wrong. Let's see. We did all the above. Senator, governor wrote a comment. Yeah, we need to do that. Yes. The situation with the pistol braces is very dire. It's going to require all of us. And success is still not guaranteed, but it's something we all need to do. If you don't care about guns, then don't do it. But if you do care about guns, not just for us, but your future kids, grandkids, things like that, this is something not just we all need to do. We the people, and this is the same thing that I remember seeing back when they banned steel cord, 554 by 39. Well, at least on this side of the planet, there's not a lot of AK-74 owners. So when the ATF had the comment section open and they're like, hey, we propose banning, steel core 545 by 39. We want to consider this armor piercing. What do you guys have to say about it? I mean, the AK-74 crew and those guys spoke out, some of them, but the rest of us, we didn't own it. We didn't care. We didn't even know. Next thing you know, it's banned for importation. And that's why AK-74s are not as popular on this side of the planet in the United States, because that shit's banned. All the spam cans of surplus rounds and stuff, you can't import that anymore. It's been that way for a long time. Versus AR braces, back at early part of 2021, with how many braces that ATF was supposed to have the comment section open for a while, and they just shut it down. There's just overwhelming comments that showed up, and they were picking on Q out of New Hampshire, for the honey badger and the trash panda and all that stuff, and they were hitting up SB Tactical for their braces. They had the comment section open. So many people just tidal waved that shit that they just closed the comment section and backed down. So it really is how many of us care about this, how many people are affected by this, and do we want to comment or do we want to let it go by the wayside? It's really up to us. And this is why I'm saying every one of us, whether you have a Ruger Mini 14, you don't own any pistol braced ARs or anything else, or whether you do and you have a lot, we all need to comment. And for those watching not live, but later, I'm going to post the link of where you can submit the comments. If you're going to submit comments to the ATF, keep it respectful. Don't do Malone Labe crazy stuff there. Keep it respectful. Just state the problem. Hey, you're trying to ban something in common use, which a little bit reminiscent of Heller versus DC from 2008, where you can't or are not able to ban things in common use. Tens of millions of pistol braces sold over the last almost decade now. That's pretty common. So, you guys are trying to ban something in common use that helps disabled veterans. It helps people with strength or disability issues. It is a real thing that matters, and it helps people shoot an AR pistol the way that a pistol is defined based on the 1934 NFA, something that could be reasonably shot with one hand. And if I'm going to do that and I have disabilities, this thing helps. And people who ergonomically, don't use the product for its intended purpose, they shouldn't be felons. They shouldn't go to prison for 10 years. And it's a little bit of ex post facto involved as well. But let me just catch up on these comments, and then we're going to get to the point we already kind of did. Let's see. Patriot or Tempest says, sent the ATF a comment. Good. We all should. I've already sent 2. I think I'm going to send another, and that's fine. There's no such thing as too much. If you have additional things you want to say, that's fine. Let's see. Textbooks go out the window after the first shot. Honestly, Mr. 2A, did you like my old name better? You always seem to remember that one. Yeah, I just remember it. So, you know, I can drop it if you want, but yeah, I know what's up. I'm glad you and the missus walked away from the crash. Yeah, dude, it was like, yeah, thank you. I'm glad we did too. And when the EMT showed up, they were like, "Oh, do you guys want to get checked out?" And I told her, "I'm like, yeah, you need to get checked. Just get checked out." And then the highway patrol, like the officer, was like, "Oh, like, do you want to get checked out?" I'm like, "Dude, I've been blown up. I've been shot at. I've rolled vehicles. I've fucked myself up. I got 3 herniated discs. Like, I've got problems, dude. Um, I know when I'm hurting and when there's a problem, and I know when there's not. I'm fine." Which is not advice if any of you guys get involved in some kind of crazy accident. Err on the side of caution, get checked out. I'm like, dude, I'm not even going to waste their time. I'm fine. But yeah, definitely get checked out. But I'm glad that we got to walk away because I've been involved in stuff where people didn't get to walk away, where we're throwing people in bags. There's the shit's on fire and you got to deal with it later. So the fact that, it's not my first rodeo with airbags. At the times that I've been involved in civilian crashes with airbags, like airbags and seatbelts are pretty fucking cool. So if you're that guy who just, doesn't wear your seatbelt or whatever, seatbelts and airbags, dude, it's all the times that I've needed them. They're pretty rad. So I highly recommend it. Let's see. There's a mayor in California that is trying to make gun owners pay extra taxes. I think it's insane, really. Yeah, well, that's par for the course for California. So, yeah, I would just be like, yeah, I'm not a gun owner, and I'm not paying those taxes. Meanwhile, I have like a house like stacked with fucking guns. Let's see. You can't use guns as a sin tax. You've seen how prohibition went, but ammo being sold in speakeasies might be nice. Yeah, dude. During the crazy like peak of pandemic pricing, Range Chris and I went to a number of pawn shops. It was actually for a video, some content we were going to do that we ended up not doing. But they had like dime bags of like 10 rounds of 9mm for $20. Like in a Ziploc bag. I was like, dude, this is out of control. This is crazy. Let's see. No, you can't hear the music at all. Good to hear. Oh,
I need a taster.
Okay.
Does anybody want to be a taster?
Miss Texas. She's almost done doing dinner, and she has mashed potatoes. And as long as dinner consists of meat and potatoes,
there's going to be a vegetable.
Can't go wrong. Vegetables, we can do that. I like.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Made it with milk and some butter.
I like it. It's perfect.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
How much did you make?
I made 2 packets.
That'll be enough.
There's only 2 of us.
I know, but I go hard in the paint with potatoes, especially when they taste like that.
Wake up from a nap, just like potatoes on.
Meat and potatoes, dude. You can survive.
Having our little candy jar right to the side.
Thank you. I like it. It's good. Mm-hmm.
Well, ready when you are.
Okay. I'll be down a little bit.
Okay. Is there a comment?
No, they just said hi earlier. Thank you. Okay. Man, I've talked your guys' ears off, but being a black guy who lives in an urban area and a legal gun owner and competitor, my community stands with the Second Amendment. It's always been. And my opinion that what truly makes people. Sorry, guys, I've had some adult beverages here, so I don't know if maybe I should put my glasses on. Like that would probably help. Um, yeah, man. I've actually seen on that note. I mean, in the last year and a half, I've seen a lot of uh, minorities and other, all kinds of people buying guns for the first time, or they already had guns, they're buying more. Um, and like I've said, and like I'll always say, I mean, this is all of our rights. Like, we are all Americans. Doesn't matter where you're from, who you are, what anything you are. Like, this is what we fought and killed for. This is what it's all about. So I I hate that people see things in a certain lens or with a certain way, with animosity or animus, or they're disingenuous on how they treat you at face value or whatever. But I don't know. Growing up in LA when I did, I mean, we had some crazy shit, dude. We had 94 Northridge quake that almost fucking destroyed our house. We had the 92 riots. I remember that. I remember in Koreatown, we lived not too far away, and just seeing the dudes on the rooftops with the guns and shit. And I was like, man, in a way, I was like, as a kid, I was like, whoa, this like stuff is happening. But at the same time, and in retrospect as well, I was like this is what America's about. You're going to build a business and put all your life savings and all your elbow grease and time and money and everything into your business or into your livelihood, and that's about to be burned down, and you get on the rooftop with a gun and you're going to protect that from happening. This is what the hell it's all about, people. This is it. Doesn't matter who you are. Like, you have access to this, and under the eyes of the law, with equal protection under the law, this is for all of us. Doesn't matter who you are. So I wish more. I don't know. I wish more people would see it like that. But it's really killed me that they don't. So I guess I'll leave that there. Social economics play a huge role in a lot of things, but desperation affects everyone. Safety is a right. Knowing the weapons you have is a responsibility. There you go. Yeah, I mean, it's like, dude, I've been at certain points in my life where I was like grabbing all the change out of the change drawer in the truck to drop it on the counter at the gas station, just to put whatever I could in the tank, just to get me by till next payday in a couple days. Or, I've sold guns. I've, done whatever it was I needed to do to make sure there was food on the table, the bills were being paid, the power wasn't going out. It's like we don't all have it that great. I mean, we grew up incredibly poor, like big time. And even as a kid, I knew there was something different, but I didn't even know how bad it was until I became an adult and heard these stories later. I was like, what? All the other kids in school got presents under the tree, but Santa didn't come to our house. What did we do wrong? Like, it's like, man, I know that not everyone is made out of money, and I know what that feels like. But you still have rights. We all do. And, your right to protect yourself, even especially in your own home, from unwanted aversion or violence or danger. You shouldn't have to be Bill Gates or well connected with the city mayor or a celebrity. Like, you shouldn't have to be a special wealthy person to be able to access your basic inalienable natural rights, your American civil liberties. You shouldn't have to be wealthy or anything else to do that. So I believe in that big time. Let's see. Yes, knowing your weapon is very important. Yes. Making any more videos soon. So I do have a video that is still, I'm working on it in post-production. but it is a comparison of. So my daily carry most of the time is a Glock 43X, and I have eventually acquired the Shield Arms 15 round magazines for it. So with a 43X, with the flush fitting 15+1 magazines, so you got 16 rounds before slide lock. I've got a Streamlight 100 lumen light on it. And the next video I'm going to do is comparing, like, hey, back in 1986 and the coolest handgun of the 90s, the Beretta M9 or M92 FS, 9mm, 15 round standard issue magazines, huge all metal gun. You need big, like Bigfoot hands to do it. And you got 16 rounds on board. If you have an M9A1 or the Surefire rail adapter like I have, you can put a weapon light on the bottom. But, you know, this is kind of an interesting moment where back in the 80s and 90s, and even current issue, you know, M9s for the military, still to this day right now at this moment, you have a 9mm full size, all metal, heavy, huge gun that's 15+1 as kind of a product from that time, versus these days you can do a 43X with the Shield Arms mags, and you have basically what I would argue is like a pocket carry service pistol. So I've done accuracy testing. I've shot a number of Berettas and 43Xs and some other guns as like control group pistols, you know, at different distances. I think I did everything at 20 yards. But it's like, dude, what we had back then versus what we have now, like that's a huge improvement on size and weight, capabilities. Just about the only thing you're missing is sight radius and velocity of those rounds, which you can negate with red dot optics and load selection. So what used to be the open carry, full size law enforcement and military issue pistol sidearm, you can now do that in a pocket carry, pocket holster pistol. So that's the next video on deck. Let me know if you guys want videos about, or whatever you want videos on. Let's see. Meat, potatoes, and bourbon. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Right here. Gun control groups have spent decades trying to convince people to never purchase guns because supposedly they are rarely used for defensive purposes, only to have people buy millions recently. I think I'm going to end on this and then quickly cover the ATF pistol brace situation, and then I got to sign off. You guys noticed how the people, the exact, specifically, let's be as specific as we can be, the same people over the years who told us, you shouldn't have those types of guns. You shouldn't have AR-15s. You shouldn't have this and that. Those guns are only for the military on the battlefield or law enforcement officers, the police. You, like regular people like us, we shouldn't have guns like this. Or if they're really hardline, they might say that none of us should have guns at all. That's just for military and police and everything else. Fast forward to COVID and George Floyd and everything else that transpired over the last year and a half. The exact same people were then about facing, turning around and telling us that law enforcement can't be trusted. We can't trust the cops. They're idiots. They're crazy. They're just going to shoot everyone at random. They're going to whatever. Also the same people like, oh, we shouldn't be involved in the Middle East. We shouldn't send our military to do this and that. It's like, okay, so you guys said that the only people that should have guns at all, or these scary type of guns, are police officers, military and stuff. And now fast forward like 2 years and you're telling me that the police like are so bad and so incompetent and so racist and so horrible that we need to defund them. We need to abolish them, that they're awful. And I'm just sitting there like, can you guys be like intellectually consistent about your mission set on like what you want to push? Because either the cops are the only people that are like the John Wicks of the world that are totally trained and professional and perfect, and they should have all the guns, or at least these types of scary guns. And then you're going to flip on a dime and then tell me that they're all racist, they're horrible, we need to disband them, defund them, they're awful. Pick something. Pick something. Because what I've chosen is, I am responsible for my own self. I'm responsible for paying my own bills. I'm responsible for putting my own gas in my own truck. I'm responsible for keeping my own house clean. I'm responsible for wiping my own ass. I'm responsible for putting on my own shoes. I'm responsible for my own personal safety. And I'm responsible for all the things in my own life. And no one else is. And whether it's paying bills or putting gas in the car or keeping my house clean or brushing my teeth, it also moves into I'm also responsible for my own personal safety. So if I want to get drunk, get crazy, go jogging at like 3 a.m. with both headphones in, or if I want to go to a party where I know no one and I'm getting drunk and passing out on the floor, these are decisions that I'm responsible for, because ultimately I am responsible for my own safety, and no one's coming to the rescue, at least not immediately. And, if I'm in a shit show kind of situation, I need to be able to handle that and be responsible for myself. So, you can tell me that only the cops should have these kinds of guns, or flip on a dime and tell me all cops are racist and horrible, we need to defund them. You can keep playing your games. That's fine. Whatever's politically convenient for your stances at whatever moment. But for me, there's kind of an undying truth where I am responsible for myself. And that includes brushing my teeth, paying my bills, and protecting myself. And that's kind of it. And there's no effective way to subcontract that out to the government or to anyone else. And I'm glad that we have law enforcement. I'm glad that we have fire department. I'm glad that we have paramedics and EMTs and stuff and ambulances. I'm glad we have these things. But if I'm staring down a shit show in my own house and my life is an immediate, lethal, imminent threat, I'm glad we have those things, but they're not. I got to take care of my fucking self. So, whether you guys like the cops or politically now you don't like the cops, they should have the guns, or they're so bad that we should defund them, whatever. I've just been sitting on my own team over here like, hey, you guys can pick whatever's convenient for you, but I'm going to be responsible for my own self. And that's it. I think I'm going to end this by quickly saying the ATF is once again going after pistol braces. I remember the first time I saw a pistol brace on an AR, it was actually a 6-hour 7.16, and it had like a 12-inch barrel, something like that, and it had like the original old school like SB tactical brace on there, non-adjustable, just whatever. And I looked at that thing, and I remember seeing it because I was working at Oak Tree Gun Club in Newhall, California, managing the gun shop at the time. And we just got those in from distribution, and they had the California bullet button, which was good to go at the time. And I'm looking at this thing, and I'm like, wow. I mean, that looks like an SBR. I'm not going to say shit about it, because obviously we legally got it into the state of California. We can continue to sell this. It's not a problem, but wow. So I had to research the whole task and purpose, the origin story of pistol braces. And that was back in like 2012, 2013 timeframe. So pistol braces have been a thing for almost a decade now that I can remember. I remember seeing my first one, like I just described, and the first thing I thought was, well, California is the DOJ, the politics out here. They're going to find some way to outlaw this. But then my second thought was, I know the NFA and the ATF and all that crazy shit, and they're going to find a way to mess with this, because this is strictly following the letter of the law, but this is abusing the ever-living hell out of the spirit of the law. The 1934 National Firearms Act, which I particularly don't care about. I think it was not passed, in good measure or good faith. It was actually supposed to be crazier than it was. It was specifically targeted and designed to basically outspend or put the vast majority of standard Americans, especially in the 30s, still reeling from the Great Depression, to price them out of their rights for guns that they just wanted to own on the farm or in the house to just live life. So that law is complete trash. It is a law, still in the books and effective to this day, but it was garbage. It always will be. So we're not violating the letter of the law with this, but we are abusing the hell out of the spirit of the law. And the ATF, one way or another, is there. This ain't gonna last. Is the second thought I had when I first saw it. Years later, we've had some stuff. We had some drama with the ATF deciding that if you ergonomically don't use the product the way it was intended to be used or designed for, then now you've just all of a sudden putting that brace to your shoulder and shooting it, you suddenly just manufactured. Like, it's almost like you have a gun factory with tooling and a drill press and an end mill and everything else, and you suddenly just manufactured an illegal, unlawful SBR just by ergonomically fucking up, or not, shooter's preference, or just messing up ergonomically, shooter's preference, how you're going to use this piece of equipment on the configured pistol. And then that turned back and they're like, okay, we gave up. The American Disabilities Association came after us. Disabled veterans came after us. People like, okay, we dropped it so you can still shoulder it spontaneously and sporadically, making contact with your shoulder with the brace. It's fine. Fuck it. And then like late 2019, they tried to find another angle of attack. And they're like, okay, well, we gave up on the shouldering thing. We tried it. It failed. We gave up. So now the way that we're going to measure overall length, the pistol brace has to be removed. We're going on the end of the buffer tube or the end of the receiver. We're going to the last part of permanent barrel extension, so if it's not pinned or welded, we're going to the crown of the barrel. And because at that time, some guys were doing, depending on overall length and length of pole, they were doing the vertical forward grips and the pistol braces, and within a certain amount of length, they could get away with it. It was not a rifle. It was not a pistol. It was a firearm, but it was not an AOW or any other weapon. So that was working for a while, and they were trying to tighten the noose a little bit more, and that's what they did. And then we had the drama with Q out of New Hampshire with the honey badger, like I was talking about. And, that they didn't pick on Daniel's Defense that has Mark 18 pistol offerings as a UPC, like an actual SKU that you can buy. They didn't pick on Daniel Defense. They didn't pick on Smith & Wesson that has braces on pistols now. They didn't, pick on Springfield Armory with their St. Victor's and all the stuff that comes from the factory with a brace. They didn't pick on 6 Hour, the original people who just bought into the SB brace like full send to this day. They didn't pick on the mainstream, huge, established gun companies. They picked on this small manufacturer, dude who started AAC and everything else, and then made his own company with Q, smaller level operation, and that's who they decided to go after. They didn't want to fight the big companies that have teams of lawyers who could just trash this thing overnight. They were going for the little guy to make a statement that could try to blanket everything. And like I was saying earlier, the comment section was open, and within like a week and a half or 2 weeks, so many comments just flooded in that they just shut the whole thing down. Now what we're facing is under the Biden administration, with a very interesting ATF nomination. Literally has a picture of like burned bodies in the background at Waco when he was in the ATF and was part of that situation. And that's potentially the dude who's going to lead up the ATF. Okay. But with this administration, with the direction of the ATF, trying to work on, like I've said, they've tried these little things and failed in the past. This thing has been going for almost a decade now. There's tens of millions of braces out there. Big name companies are issuing products with braces on them. And like, you don't even have to buy anything or modify anything. Like, it just comes from Smith & Wesson or Daniel Defense or Sig Sauer or whatever like that. Common use, 2008, Heller versus DC. What is more common than something that has been around for almost a decade and there's tens of millions of them out there? That the major gun manufacturers are offering products with these things on them. No questions asked. Anyway, they, instead of all these little micro failures that they've stacked up over the past 8 or 9 years, they just want to basically do the California job, where it's like, oh, we're not saying it's illegal. We're just saying you need to follow this list. And what we're not going to tell you in the fine print is basically this is impossible to comply with. And you're either going to give up, you're going to enter into the registry and play our game, or we're just going to throw you in jail. We don't care. So apparently they have a point system. I'm not going to go over the point system. I think Brandon Herrera, AK dude, he has a pretty good recent video about 5 or 6 days ago on if you want the breakdown. But essentially, there's any AR pistol that I've ever seen, built, or worked on in the past 8 years. There's nothing I can recall that would actually pass the point system. That if you stack up 4 points, it's a felony. So again, the California job, and this is why I'm saying as an ex-Californian that stuff that happens in California, everyone else should pay attention to, because this is kind of the proving grounds for what's going to happen elsewhere or nationally. But they're doing kind of the California thing of saying, well, we're not saying it's illegal. We're just saying here's, like a bowling alley with the bumpers on it. You got to stay in this really well-defined lane. And the second you do something outside, you're felony, 10 years in prison. There you go. So it has a point system that is ludicrous. As a school-trained military armorer, as a combat infantryman and veteran, and as a current full-time civilian gunsmith, how they decided to define the terms and the weights and the lengths and the features, which I don't even know because nothing was specified. It's very subjective. On some of those, it makes no sense, but we can't be surprised. It's not supposed to make sense. It never has. But basically now they've failed all these little roadblocks along the way with pistol braces, and now they have a point system that they are proposing, allegedly, or at least with intent. By the law, the comment section is open for a period of 60 to 90 days. And my best hope is that we, and like I alluded to earlier, all of us, whether you have a pistol braced AR, AK, whatever it is or not, all of us need to submit comments. All of us need to comment. Again, conduct yourself professionally. Don't do any crazy shit. Just tell them like, hey, you guys said this was good to go and totally legal for the past decade. Tens of millions of these are out there now. There's disabled veterans and disabled people who actually use these that has a purpose. Trying to use the pistol the way that you define what a pistol is. And you guys blessed off on it. You said it was totally fine. It was good to go. And now you're going to turn around and try to make us all felons, or we have to register our thing as an SBR. So we have to enter into the registry, play your game, or else we face felonies for something that we bought legally with a background check, 4473 federal paperwork. We have a receipt. We have an invoice. We bought this legally. And all of a sudden you're going to turn around and say, oh yeah, the things that we said were totally fine for the past decade. Now they're not fine because we just decided to do that. And you either have to register this thing and pay a $200 tax stamp, or you're going to be a felon. So take your pick. Is that fair? Is that right? Is that just? No. Especially constitutionally speaking, Article 1 of the Constitution, legislative branch. You know what? If we're going to make statute or law that carry the weight of felonies in years of, like, the worst thing the government can do to you besides kill you is throw you in a cage in a prison. So we are going to, all of a sudden, everything was fine for the past decade, and now we're going to change our mind, and we're going to throw you in a cage. We're going to take away your rights to own guns for the rest of your life. We're going to take everything and everyone you ever knew from your life, and you're basically dead, but you're not dead because everyone divorces you, moves on, and they live their lives as if you don't exist. And we're going to throw you in a fucking cage. And now you got to join a prison gang, and now you got to toe the line. You got to show your paperwork. You got to do all that stuff. Just because you weren't aware that we just changed our mind. And the biggest thing about that, going back to Article 1, is no law was passed. No, the House and or the Senate did not draft up a piece of legislation to make law where they both agree on the same version of the law, and it makes the majority votes of the representatives that we, the people, elected. And then it moves on to the commander-in-chief or the executive, the president, and he gets to decide whether he wants to sign it or not. And if he does sign it, now it becomes law. That's how laws are made. That's how, if you're going to change something that's going to put me in prison for 10 years and make me a felon on the flip of a dime, that's a law. That needs to be a law. Congress makes the law. So the House and the Senate are collective elected representatives that we elected them, or at least the majority of our state elected them to represent us so we could just continue to live our normal lives, that they draft and propose and vote on by majority status bills that move through the intentionally slow and arduous process through the House and the Senate, Congress overall, and eventually make it up to the executive. That's how laws happen. Instead, ATF is like, oh, this is cool. And then 9 years later, they're like, oh, we're actually proposing that they're not cool. And if you don't comply, you're going to be a felon. Okay. When the fuck did I elect you? Who are you? I never elected you. You're not a congressman. You're not in the House of Representatives. You're not a senator. I didn't elect you. You were just friends of the current administration, or you knew someone who knew someone, and they thought you'd be good for the job, and you just applied for it and, had to grease some elbows a little bit and just, and you got the job. I didn't fucking elect you. And now you're going to make determination letters. You're going to decide, as an offshoot of the executive branch of bureaucracy of the ATF, that you're just going to decide tomorrow morning you wake up and you decide that pistol braces are not cool. And the letter that you publish as a non-elected official, as some bureaucrat or some employee of the ATF, I don't fucking care about you. I didn't elect you. You're not part of Article 1 of the Constitution. This is not how laws are made. And you're just going to wake up the next morning and just decide we're all felons, all millions of us, Americans, we the people? No, Fuck off. No, get the fuck out of here, dude. No. I didn't see you in Afghanistan. I didn't see you in Iraq. I didn't vote for you. Okay, so you're not doing anything for this country. Fuck off. That's not how laws are supposed to happen by way of our Constitution. So this whole thing is wrong. It's probably one of the wrongest, just unjust things I think I've seen in my lifetime from a legal standpoint, of some kind of bureaucracy just deciding that they're king of the world and they get to just rule over our lives. I am fortunate, and I say that lightly, in my state that all 29 of our county sheriffs banded together, mutually signed a letter saying, hey, if any pistol brace stuff, federal assault weapons bans, any of this garbage happens, we're not enforcing it. We're not aiding, facilitating, abetting, working by, with, and through the federal government. We're not doing anything. We don't give a shit. We're not doing it. Living in a free state now, but having grown up in a banned state, California. Those of you in Texas or other states like that where you have that kind of thing, that's great. But understand that we, the people, like, we're together in this as Americans. Doesn't matter who you are, where you come from. This is our rights. And maybe you have a state that, you know, your local or state law enforcement is not going to uphold this if it should pass. And assault weapons bans, magazine capacity ban, like, they're not going to do anything. They don't care. They're not doing it. Just know that there's a lot of our fellow Americans that are living in states that they don't have that. And whether you're living in a banned state or a free state, the federal government or parts of it just deciding, hey, I'm going to be a one-man Congress. I'm just going to do my thing, and it's whatever. Wrong. It's wrong. And I'm thinking about the people I've seen over the past year and a half. Maybe it was, a wealthy couple. The husband's a doctor, the wife is an educator or professor at a college, and they've never bought a gun. They never really seriously thought about it. But with all the stuff going on, they're like, okay, we've made a decision as a couple. We're going to buy a gun. So money's no problem, despite the cost of ammo. And it's like, oh, yeah, we'll pay the range and the rental fees. We're going to rent out whatever guns you suggest. So I've seen it time and time again. They shoot our full-size rifle AR-15s. And they're like, okay, we're going to make this purchase together for one gun. And it needs to be one gun we can keep in the house to protect ourselves if needed. But it needs to work for me and it needs to work for you. It needs to work for both of us. So AR-15 full 16-inch rifle that we have for rent. Like, oh, man, this is cool, but this is kind of heavy. I don't know. It's pretty big. I got hallways and doorways and things. Like, I don't know. So then they shoot the pistols and they're like, okay, small, lightweight, portable. We don't know about concealed carry yet, but you could conceal this if you wanted to. But I just can't hit shit with it. I don't know. I'm not good with pistols. I don't know. So then they rent out some shotguns, and immediately within the first shot or two, it's like, this is a lot of recoil. We didn't sign up for this. And we're still longer or just as long as those full-size ARs. And then they rent out, the CZ Scorpion with a side folding brace that we have for rent. Or they rent out, the Glock 17 and a micro Roni side folding brace configuration that we have for rent. Or they rent out an AR pistol with a brace that we have for rent. And it's like, whoa, we finally found the thing that is most effective for both of us, that we both like it. We're both hitting stuff with it. We're both very happy with it. We're competent. And, we understand how it works. And this pistol in our hands, this Glock 17, kind of sucked and we weren't hitting anything. But when you put it in this micro Roni side folding pistol brace thing, like, we can hit everything now and it's perfect. Or the AR that was too big and long and heavy and whatever, but now that it has this pistol brace and 11.5-inch barrel, like, this is great. So we found them the most effective firearm that can work for both of them to best defend themselves in their own home for lawful self-defense. So then they're done renting and shooting. They come over to the sales side of the gun shop. I'm like, okay, oh, that's cool. I see this LWRC AR pistol. I see this, you know, uh, Springfield Armory St. Victor with a brace on it. Like, hey, that's just the same thing that we were shooting on the range. Like, this is let's buy it. So they buy it. They have background check, 4473, federal paperwork. They have a receipt. They have an invoice. They paid for it. They legally purchased this at a gun store after deciding, like, hey, this is the best thing for us. We're happy with it. They take it home and maybe they, buy a couple mags. They buy some ammo for it. They keep it loaded. Maybe they have us install a red dot, zero it for them, whatever. Maybe they only shoot it once or twice, but mainly that gun, maybe they just leave it in the closet like, hey, like, you remember 2020, man, that was crazy. Like, we bought a gun. We never did that before, but at least we bought a good one. It was great. But, we haven't shot it in a while, but it's in the closet. That's cool. Those people are not like you and I. They're not part of the Second Amendment entrenched community keeping up to date with everything. So, all they know is like, hey, we bought our first gun together as a team, as a couple. We made this decision together. We liked it. We went to a gun store. We did everything legally. We bought it. It was great. And we haven't shot it for like a year or two. And, maybe we should go out there and shoot it and just kind of get some practice on it, whatever. The only problem is the ATF decided to be a one-man Congress and executive branch and everything and just decide that, felony possession. What they purchased legally a year or two ago, maybe this is 2022, 2023, whatever. And now they want to like, oh, maybe we should brush up and go out there. And they don't know anything. They're not aware that the thing they purchased legally and everything was fine. And it had been fine for the past decade. And they purchased it. It works the best. It was all legal. As far as they know, everything was perfect. All of a sudden, that thing is a felony possession. So they put it in the car and they take it to the gun range. And, they don't realize they possess a felony. They show up to the gun range and they just like, oh, yeah, just like a year or two ago, we're just going to load up the magazine. I remember how this works. And they're trying to get some practice as a husband and wife, whatever. And people look at them like, hey, dude, do you realize like these days, like that's a felony? Depending on what state you live in, you might have an off-duty cop just putting his own reps in, and he looks at that. Certainly, if he was LAPD or especially LA sheriffs, be like, "Hey, man, why don't you put your hands behind your back, whatever," and then felony charge right there. Or they get pulled over on the way to or from the gun range, and somehow it becomes beyond a Terry stop. It's a vehicle inspection, and they're searching the vehicle. They find that thing, felony possession. You're done. So at the end of the day, there's two things that are severely wrong with this picture. One, ATF is just deciding it wants to be its own one-man Congress and executive branch. And it's going to set things. It's going to wake up tomorrow. Someone's going to write a letter and they want to carry the force of law, even though they were not elected. This is not a law that went through the lawmaking process through our Congress, the House and the Senate, the executive branch. None of that. Let's just skip everything. And I'm going to wake up tomorrow and decide I hate pistol braces. I work for the ATF. I'm going to write this letter and fuck your face. Everyone's a felon now. Or you have to register it and, register it with us and play our game exactly what we wanted you to do. Or you're going to be a felon and I don't care. That's problem number one. That is a constitutional issue with that. Problem number two is you have good, honest, law-abiding citizens like the example I just explained, which I've seen time in and time out throughout the past year and a half, that they landed on, maybe it's a 9mm PCC, pistol caliber carbine, maybe it's an AR-15 with a pistol brace on there and that's what they landed on. And, they bought it. They did everything legally as far as they knew. It was legal. It was on display at the gun shop. They filled out all the paperwork. They did all the necessary legal stuff. They paid for it. They have a receipt and the invoice. They bought it legally. And only a year, or in this case, several months later, or 2 years later, suddenly they're in possession of a felony and they had no idea. It's not like the ATF is going to send them a letter. It's not like, that they're going to see this on the news. They're not going to know. And maybe that thing's going to collect dust in the closet for like 5 years, and then they're going to pull it out and like, you know what, we should remember that gun that we bought back in 2020 when everything was crazy. We should probably go out there and shoot it again just to make sure it's good and we're good. And they might get a felony possession charge. For what? For following the law and not understanding that ATF usurped the Constitution and just did their own thing and made them felons overnight. So those are the two big problems that we have. So I'm going to end this here. But the last thing I'll leave you with is we all need to activate ourselves and write these letters, make these phone calls. And the ATF has a comment section that's open right now. We all need to do it. All of us, whether you only own a 22 rifle or, whatever, or if you have plenty of pistol braced ARs, we all need to do this. And it's not just the ATF. I'll raise you one higher. Talk to, preferably phone calls. In my experience, the senators, when you call a senator's office, you're never going to get someone real. And if you do, it's some intern, which legally they have to record your response. But your local congressman for your district, that's where the phone calls really hit. Still also send letters at the same time, because I've sent probably at this point thousands of letters. I've racked up, I don't even know how many days on the phone with congressmen and senators. I wasn't even their constituents. I'd be like, hey, Senator so-and-so from Illinois, you're proposing this. And, as a veteran and, as a gunsmith or whatever, or just as an American, I oppose this and whatever. I don't even have to be in your district or in your state. I'm still going to call you up if you're acting a fool. I don't care. But all of us need to do the phone calls, which have more of an impact, especially on your congressman for your house. Senators, it still works, but letters are always going to be a thing. And then the ATF open comment section, flood that shit with comments. Let's all just flood the fuck out of that thing. Again, don't be crazy. Don't threaten anything. Conduct yourself respectfully, peacefully. Lay it out and do it, because, either we care about this or we don't. And the ATF, if they don't get a lot of comments and people don't seem to care and they can slip it under the radar like they did with the AK-74, the 5.45 by 39 import ban on that. If they can slip it in and no one cares, they're going to do it. If there's a huge, massive incursion of letters and phone calls and just shit, just like the last time we did it in the beginning of the year, okay, they're going to take their baseball and go home. Doesn't mean the fight's over. It just means for now they realize, okay, this is a bigger problem than we thought it was. This is going to be an issue. This is not going to fly under the radar. Let's just shut it down. Fuck it. So that's the last thing. This is a call to action. I challenge you to write those letters, make those phone calls. Again, be peaceful, be respectful, conduct yourself as a mature, rational adult, respectful. But don't just do the ATF. I'm going to post that link in the description once I'm done here. Congressmen, senators, anybody, do it. Because this one's going to take full send for all of us. All of us are going to need to be hot and popping on this, all of us. Because otherwise, if we don't comment enough and it doesn't seem like it matters and they can slip it under the radar, then they're going to do it. Yeah, don't trust the ATF to not do it. They're going to do it if we don't make a big enough stink about it. So let's do it. So for now, got to go. But thank you guys for tuning in. I had to address this. We all need to be part of this. If you care about the Second Amendment and we still have access to these peaceful and political diplomatic options, we as Americans, in my opinion, we must do it. It's not a matter of if, we must. So we'll take it in stride. We'll do it for now. Thank you guys for being here. And thanks for watching. You guys take care.